Alright, what is good, y'all? We're coming back with another tier list video. The last one absolutely blew up, so we're doing it again. And today we got the scariest drugs to take, I guess. So we got some new ones here, because I didn't have the biggest variety in the last one. A lot of people were complaining, like where's the Zans? Where's the ketamine? Where's the blow? And I don't really have any of those things, but I got some more, and they're close enough. So, for instance, we have Klonopin now. Didn't have that before. It's close to Xanax. Then we have Phenibut, kind of the same deal. We also have Mirtazapine. I tried that before, but I just didn't put it on here. But it is different than Seroquel in like a scary kind of way. Then got Salvia. That's a pretty fitting one. And then we got Kratom and Doxylamine, which I may or may not have tried on my last one. Can't quite remember, but either way, it's on here now. And by the way, if you don't know, doxylamine is a delirium in higher doses, kind of like Benadryl. I think that's it for the. Oh wait, nicotine. Yeah, nicotine on here as well. Oh, and Abilify, which again, both of those I'm pretty sure I tried before my last one, but I just didn't put them on here. Through the tiers, we just have trauma at the very top, chill at the bottom. Ones in chill tier are like pretty much just always chill. Like there's not like unless you take a stupid amount, it's pretty hard to get scared from it, from the effects of it. And then a trauma, literally, the drug can like straight up traumatize you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's just get right into it, starting with DXM. It's kind of set the standard, I guess. With DXM, I'm gonna say it's kind of a C tier, but the thing is, it can get scary, but it's mostly for the higher doses. And this is just considering you take like a normal dose of it, whatever the normal dose is, pretty much normal to like moderate, I suppose. Just a moderate dose, like maybe 150 milligrams of freebase, really doesn't do much. Like scary wise, it kind of just like makes you feel good, a little dissociated, and like you don't really like hallucinate much on that level of a dose, and your like ego doesn't really dissolve that much. So it's kind of a C tier, but it can get a little scary if you don't take it under the perfect circumstances. Like if you take it like first thing in the morning, then like go out somewhere, then like one, you might get nauseous, and two, you might get like anxious. So that's not fun. So I think it's a C tier then. Higher doses, it can totally get up to A. I don't think trauma, but yeah, just normal doses probably like C tier. And then we got nicotine. So nicotine, even if you take a stupid amount, enough to like feel kind of wonky, it only lasts like a second. I don't know, if you take like a blinker off of like a geek bar or something like that, then like you kind of like get off balance for a little bit. And that's kind of disorienting, but not even really scary. So I'm gonna say chill for nicotine. It really doesn't get scary. It's like kind of hard to make that scary. Yeah, and then we got Abilify. So this is the first psych med on here. Now, my experience with this was actually fairly common. I got this disorder, not disorder, I don't know what the fuck it's called, but it's basically this condition called akathisia where you just get really restless and you pretty much just feel like you can't escape your own skin. It's pretty horrible. And unlike a hallucinogen where you're like seeing cool shit while you feel weird, you just straight up feel weird and then there's like no silver lining. You just feel horribly uncomfortable pretty much. And you can't really do anything about it. So I'm pretty sure I had several panic attacks from it. And you literally just have to suck it up. There's really nothing you can do. So like I had to get off of that shit. Yeah, for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it in A tier. Just because it wasn't traumatizing. Like it sucked. It sucked enough for it to like really stick into my brain, but I wouldn't say it was traumatizing. It's kind of just it really sucked in the moment, but there weren't any lasting impacts from it. So I'd say it's A tier. But yeah, akathisia fucking sucks. And now Klonopin, first benzo. What? You may think it's kind of weird because it's like, oh, this is like the opposite of a scary drug. It's supposed to like calm you down, right? Well, from in my experience, that's just from the first like 4 to 5 hours. After that, on the come down, for me, it personally gets scary. Now, the first time I tried it was like 0.5 milligrams, and like I said, the first 4 or 5 hours was great. But then after that, like I just started getting really fiendish. I started getting like anxious again. And I wanted like redose so bad, but like I like stayed away from it. And that lasted like 3 days. Not even kidding. It was only on like the third day where I felt good to drive. Just from a single 0.5 milligram dose. So that was pretty scary. And also the memory impairment is pretty scary too. Because it's not just like feeling off. I feel like full on inebriated. Like my motor skills are lacking. My memory was impaired. I guess those are the two most notable things. And also just feeling like the rebound anxiety, which comes on almost instantly after after you're past the peak, which is like kind of dumb for a drug like Klonopin because of how long it lasts. With that being said, the first 5 hours, like I said, feel good. So there is a silver lining compared to something like Abilify. And I took like 0.25 milligrams another time, and it wasn't too bad. Maybe I'm just sensitive to benzos, but I think I'll put it in B tier. Keep it there for now. So yeah, then we got another GABA drug. Good old alcohol. Honestly, yeah, alcohol is not nearly as strong as benzos. I'm not gonna lie. They feel somewhat similar, but like benzos just hit harder for whatever reason. So I think it's more of a C tier because alcohol doesn't really last that long, right? So one of the scariest things like a drug can do to you is just like make you feel like you're in a state you don't want to be in for a long period of time. And that's exactly what Klonopin did for me. But alcohol, it just doesn't last that long. And also generally, like it puts you in a good mood. You know, you're feel better on it. But there have been a few times where not even getting like stupid drunk or whatever, just getting like fairly drunk, I'll feel like a little bit of depersonalization, which is something I've been struggling with just for like the past few months. So that kind of goes for a lot of these drugs, but that happened on alcohol, which I didn't even like expect it to. It just kind of hit me at one moment. It sent me into like an anxiety attack for a second, and that was kind of scary. Even when I was literally just chilling, drinking, like watching a movie with friends. Other than that, never really had a scary experience with alcohol. But I think it's C tier, just because it's kind of rare that it gets scary. And typically, like the scary part of alcohol is like being a heavy user and all the things that go along with that, or getting like stupid drunk, throwing up everywhere, blacking out, shit like that. But even then, because I've gotten blackout, throw up on myself drunk before, and I wouldn't say it was scary. It was more so it just really sucked. But yeah, I did have that one scary moment on it, so it's kind of a C tier. I wouldn't say it's as chill as something like nicotine. So then we got nitrous. Now nitrous is it's definitely more potent than nicotine, obviously. And you do like dissociate on it. However, it just doesn't last that long. So I mean, you take it and then it's over within like 2 minutes. So it can get scary, on something like Salvia, but just by itself, like your mind just like feels kind of like silly on it almost, and your body just feels kind of nice. So that's what you're mostly focused on. So and even if you like somehow still get scared on it, like I said, it's over so quickly. Like honestly, it might have even less of a tail end than like nicotine does. I think I'd say it's chill tier, but maybe just a little above it, just because it is a dissociative. So that's probably fair. And then we got Phenibut. It's kind of like alcohol or Klonopin. I'd say it is scarier than alcohol though. Again, back to what I was saying. It just lasts a long time. But from my personal experience, it seems to be much shorter than Klonopin. Like at least half the half-life of it. So, because like I only noticed the effects from like the first day and then like a little bit the next day, and then that's it. Scariness part of it, honestly. So I had like little moments that only lasted like 5 seconds on it, where I would be like, again, felt a little like depersonalization on it. On the peak or a little bit past the peak of like the higher end doses, you kind of like dissociate a little bit. But on the lower doses, it's kind of the opposite. You feel stimulated and like present. So like in the middle, it's like it's not too bad. However, there was this one time where I went to bed just like an hour after the peak, and I ended up actually experiencing a little bit of delirium before I went to bed. So just like confusion and like kind of going off into my own head, and like then I'd snap back into reality and just felt kind of off. And so that wasn't fun. That was kind of scary. So yes, Klonopin is definitely ahead of it. I don't know if Phenibut can like accurately compare to it, aside from like maybe like 3 grams or something. But like a moderate dose is like maybe like 1.5, depending on like how it affects you. And it's a similar thing that I've noticed with alcohol and DXM, where if you just keep a positive mindset, then you'll be fine. So it's like it's kind of hard to like get really scared from it. But yeah, the delirium, that was kind of scary. So yeah, I think I'll put it in C tier. I think it's the kind of the same thing with alcohol and DXM. So, and then we got opioids. So just like middle of the road opioids, oxy, hydros, so you know, Percocet, Vicodin, codeine, morphine, anything like that pretty much. Which I had codeine separately on my last list, but it got kind of confusing. So they're all close enough. I'm gonna say B tier because opioids introduce a new fear, which is dying. That's the thing that's on the back of my mind whenever I'm taking it. Like, if I'm taking like pretty much any of these, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not gonna die. I'm well aware of the lethal threshold. But when you're opioid naive, the lethal threshold is like 30 to 40 milligrams of oxy, let's say. It's like somewhere around there. So there kind of is that in the back of your mind. And then like, I don't know, when you're on it, if that thought passes through you while you're like peeking on it, and then you like feel your heart, and then you're like, man, it's running a little slow. It generally puts you in a positive mindset, but it's not super easy to stay positive if you start freaking out on it. Because it targets the opioid receptor. So it's not fucking with serotonin or GABA or anything like that. So you have to interpret the effects as positive, and then you'll have a good experience on it. If you start interpreting them as negative, then you'll go that way. However, it's not a hallucinogen. It doesn't really distort your perception of reality or anything. I say it's a B tier because it's generally not that bad. However, dying isn't great. So yeah, typically it doesn't make your like heart race or anything like that. And I only feel like mild depersonalization on it. So yeah, I'd say that's fair. Okay, and then we got mushrooms. Now, if you watched my last video, you'll know I had a very traumatizing experience on mushrooms. It was a great experience until it wasn't. And to be fair, I smoked weed on it, which you should never do if you're doing a high dose or a dose you've never done before. But yeah, that was very traumatizing. Probably the most traumatizing experience of my entire life. Yeah, the weed did something to it, obviously, sent me into oblivion. However, that also wouldn't have happened if I just did the weed alone, because I took 5 grams, right? Anyways, regardless. Yeah, why am I bringing fucking weed in here? All right, so this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is like drugs that last a long time are probably the scariest ones, if you don't enjoy what's happening. Mushrooms don't really last that long when compared to other psychedelics, but that's in the immediate effects. The thing with psychedelics is they can put a permanent change in your normal like baseline perspective. So with that, whenever I had my last trip, it lasted months. I feel like I never returned to normal for months. Even now, I still don't really feel right from it. Mostly in a positive sense, but also in like some not so good senses. So is that English? I don't know. Anyways, because of that, I feel like it's in the trauma tier. And also I just straight up got traumatized from it. Any bad experience I've had with any of these have been rough, but with mushroom, like they never stuck with me in a way that made me feel bad about it. Like with any of these drugs, I never had like a flashback and then like been startled or like depressed or anxious or anything like that from it. But with mushrooms, I have, mostly just from my last experience. So for that, I say they go in the trauma tier for sure. They can be both the happiest, coolest, and also the scariest thing you'll ever experience. So perfectly segues into weed, which I think also goes into trauma tier, because it's kind of the same thing where if you start spiraling, it's kind of hard to just stay positive. If you're having a good time on weed, then it can make your good time even better. But if you're not having a good time, then you just spiral, and then it's really hard to get yourself back to normal. And also, weed lasts kind of a while. Like, okay, the initial effects like only last like maybe 30 minutes for like the main effects, and then like after that, you're kind of just feeling the afterglow. But the afterglow lasts a while. I don't hear most people talk about this, but like I never feel like 100% normal after smoking weed. And just to be clear, most of my experiences with carts, I should preface that, but I never feel like I go back to baseline. I always like still see like a little bit of a pattern everywhere, which I have HPPD, so that's like kind of just a thing. But with weed especially, I've noticed that. And my body never quite feels normal as well. It just gets back to like not that feeling different, but it still feels a little different. Same thing with my perspective on it, like my perspective while on it. It feels like I maintain that perspective even if I'm well past the point where it should be affecting me. And especially since it is technically the thing that sent me into that traumatic event. And also another thing is, I never even really hold any ill will towards shrooms. Like, I've been wanting to have a shroom trip again. However, with weed, I've kind of just stopped smoking weed. It's just not worth it to me. It makes my HPPD worse, which if you don't know, that stands for hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, where you basically start seeing shit even after you take a hallucinogen. So yeah, it makes that a lot worse. More so than like other hallucinogens like DXM or pretty much anything else. Other than like, I guess mushrooms and deliriums would probably be worse. But it puts me right back in that like state where I got where I had that really scary experience. So yeah, and I don't really experience that too much with any other drug. And also, I hate the way it distorts your perception of time too. So like, even if it hasn't even been that long, it'll feel like it's been long. Which DXM does that too. But the thing is, DXM, it's fucking with your serotonin or whatever, so you don't really care. You feel good. But I'm pretty sure weed doesn't like affect serotonin. I think it's just your cannabinoids or whatever the fuck. So it might be ahead of mushrooms. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I think it's ahead of mushrooms. So I have revisited weed since like being traumatized from it, but I just like more often than not, I'd take it and I'd get sent into a panic attack. Even if I waited a long time, I felt like I was prepared. Just take a little puff and then boom, sent right back into fucking psychosis land. Like, it got to a point where I would literally rather smoke meth than weed. Like, if someone offered me weed or offered me meth, I'd probably turn down the weed. I'd probably accept the meth. I'd be like, all right, new drug. Let's try this out. Which is like so ass backwards because it's weed. I know it's harmless. I know it's like, whatever. But I don't know, bro. Trauma. Okay, so yeah, that's enough about shrooms and weed. Next drug. We got mirtazapine. So this is something I was prescribed for sleep. It's a tetracyclic antidepressant, but it works similarly to Seroquel. However, the main difference is I think it fucks with their norepinephrine, so it kind of makes you happy, but also if you take a high dose of it, it makes you kind of stimulated than less sedated. So if you take a low dose, you'll like go to sleep. And another difference with Seroquel is it has a longer duration, so it's more of a smooth ride into going to sleep. Now I do experience a bit of delirium before I go to sleep on it. I don't know if I'm being too vague about that, but like I'll like kind of go off into my own head, like I'll like daydream, but it feels like it's happening right in front of me. But like I won't be like super self-conscious, I guess. But then like I will be suddenly. I'll just like snap back into reality, and then I'll like see it like fizzle out like in front of me. That'll just like randomly happen on it. It'll happen like 6 times before I like fall asleep. But the thing is with mirtazapine, it still has those antidepressant effects even while that's happening. So it happens, but you kind of don't care about it unless you choose to care about it, if that makes sense. So and then also the next day, it kind of feels like a benzo. Not gonna lie, you kind of get that benzo feeling where your memory is kind of impaired. You're kind of not all there, but you kind of feel good. You are able to stay positive on it. It lasts a while, but since you can't stay positive on it, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I should probably just name this tier that, just fucking stay positive. But yeah, I mean, not too much to worry about with mirtazapine other than that, like other than the mild delirium. I mean, you'll feel like really groggy the next day. That's like, like it lasts the entire day unless you have like a really high tolerance to it. So that's kind of scary and kind of like a depersonalization kind of way, where you're like not really feeling yourself for a long period of time. So yeah, but again, antidepressant, so it's not really that bad. Then we have mirtazapine. No, or not mirtazapine. Fuck. Seroquel, quetiapine. So this doesn't really have any like antidepressant effects. It's an antipsychotic. So there's no silver lining with it really. That is okay. Well, the silver lining is like with the dreams. You have really cool dreams on Seroquel, which I haven't really experienced with like any other drug in particular. Aside from the dreams, it hits pretty quickly and it doesn't really last that long. Like it lasts long enough for you to keep you asleep for like a full 8 hours. However, after you wake up, it's not too bad. Like the morning grogginess or stupor, whatever you want to call it, from mirtazapine, it feels like you're barely present. However, with Seroquel, it feels like it feels similar to like normal sober grogginess. Maybe just like a little bit more intense. However, it goes away after a normal amount of time. Like maybe like a few hours at most, and then you'll feel mostly normal. But when mirtazapine is literally the entire day. So that's where Seroquel kind of wins. And also it does hit quicker at nighttime as well. So, that's cool that it hits quickly, and so it's less waiting, I guess, less suspense. It just hits you and you're like, "Oh, I feel it now." And then you just go to sleep. However, Seroquel does feel dysphoric. It does make your body feel weird. It makes your mind feel kind of weird too, so you can like, kind of spin that shit and be like, "Oh, I feel high. I feel good." It's not generally pleasant or unpleasant. It just feels like maybe slightly dysphoric. You just feel kind of like flat almost. So it's kind of disorienting. I don't really like it. However, you take it enough, you get used to it. But it is still a little scary. The delirium thing, I only really experienced that on higher doses of Seroquel. On a normal dose, not really. Okay, I think it's in C tier, but for a different reason than mirtazapine. Just because it doesn't last that long. So it's like you can just suck it up and then it's fine. Higher doses, it does get kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. Higher doses, it can get up to probably A tier, I'd say. Like my scariest experience before shrooms was with Seroquel. I took 300 milligrams with no tolerance, with weed as well, because fucking of course I did. And I got dragged around by shadow people, had a bunch of false awakenings. That wasn't fun. But again, that was with a stupid dose and with weed. But just normal dose, it's pretty much fine. If it feels uncomfortable, then it'll be over pretty shortly. So yeah, not too bad. But then we got Benadryl, probably one of the most notoriously scary drugs. However, I wouldn't say I'm traumatized from anything on Benadryl. That is because all the scary things that happen on it were I found them extremely fascinating. Like, you just get completely like lifelike hallucinations, which is like you're in such awe in the moment that it's hard for you to like genuinely feel bad about it. You may feel scared. It does put you in a state where you like where everything is like the scariest shit ever. But even the really nightmarish hallucinations, you see it, that you get scared by it, but then after it's gone, you're like, oh, that was whack, man. Not like, oh god, this is the worst thing ever. I mean, sometimes that happens, but again, it's one of those things where after the trip is over, reflecting on it, it's like more interesting than it is like traumatizing. The memory impairment is kind of scary. Especially when you get into like thought loops and like or like delirium loops where you like go into your own head and then you'll snap out of it. And then you'll be like, oh shit, that wasn't real. What the fuck? So that was one of the scariest things from it, to be honest. Like, because it feels like you're just going in and out of reality. But the actual hallucinations, yeah, they can be nightmarish, but they're not too bad. Like I said, it's if you just stay on the positive side, you're like, wow, that's really cool, terrifying, but kind of cool, you know. That it's not too bad. However, I don't think I can like safely put on the same tier as fucking Klonopin and fucking Percocet. It's kind of on another level. You can get perma-tripped. That is one thing, and I think I did actually get HPPD from my Benadryl use, but it's not too bad. It's more about the way I see reality, not the way I feel about myself in relation to reality. That's like shroom and weed territory, but like you still feel like you have yourself while you're on DPH. So that's I guess that's another silver lining thing, or more so just like a comforting thing. And also, even if you do get scared by something, because your memory is impaired, you kind of just forget about it like 5 seconds later. So it's kind of hard to like really feel bad about anything that happens, aside from momentarily. But there are people who have gotten traumatized on it, so this isn't to be fucked around with by any means. But, you know, just personally, my experience with shrooms and weed has been much worse. Anyways, on to road trip gummies. I had this theory that I said in my last tier list where I thought this was like Kana and Amanita muscaria. A lot of y'all were corrected me in the comments. I heard like a few different ones, but most people were saying that it's for ACO DMT, so we'll go with that. I'm pretty sure that converts into psilocin in the body, same thing as psilocybin. So like realistically, this should be on the same level as shrooms, like just objectively, if they're like pretty much the same thing. However, just from my personal experience, it wasn't that bad. In fact, it was pretty good. The first time I took like 6 gummies, which is actually above a moderate dose. I felt really euphoric. The come down was really rough. I got really depressed on the come down, but not scared, I wouldn't say. I guess it was kind of scary, like how depressed it was able to make me, because that was pretty jarring, I'd say. So maybe like C tier. Yeah, I mean, I've been meaning to take them again. It was a while ago, but even then, they're gummies. Like, if you look at a mushroom and you ingest it, it's like, I guess, a scary connotation, like just going into it. Like looking at this and then knowing you're consuming it is like, it's, these don't exactly look inviting, let's say. But these are, I mean, they're literally gummies, bro. I don't know, like, they're coated in sugar. It's hard to be afraid of this, like, just conceptually. You know, the effects aside, like, I don't know. And I know that's just packaging, but, like, that kind of does make the difference. Like, the mindset you have going into something is, like, it makes all the difference. That's why weed is scary for me now. Whenever I didn't have that mindset, it was fine. I could smoke as much as I wanted to. Yeah, just from my experience, it's like a C tier. I guess the depression was afterwards was a little scary, but not really that bad. And it went away after like a day or something like that. Yeah, so that's it for the gummies. And then, okay, so now on to Salvia. Now, this is probably one of the scariest drugs that exists if you smoke it, and also if you're smoking an extract. So a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually just straight up stick Salvia in your mouth. You don't have to smoke it at all. I think it's called quitting, where you like hydrate the leaves, you like pour water on them, then you like roll it up into a ball, and then you stick it in your mouth. You just kind of like roll it around, kind of chew on it, and then I think you just absorb it like sublingually. So that's what I did. First time I did it was like 5 grams, second time was 10 grams, and just by itself, it wasn't really scary. Now, it did take nitrous on it, which that got a little scary. It just like, it was a very sudden hit of like eco dissolution. So, and also my whole field of vision was like completely taken up by the visuals. I'll get into that in different video, but that was just with the nitrous. On its own, it's weird. I had delirium like visuals of like shadow people and stuff. However, I was like fully conscious, not in a delirious way. And also, I kind of felt like an opioid actually with the body high and whatnot. So it wasn't really scary. I saw things that were scary, but I didn't feel really bad about them. So it might be another C tier. Like, I just had like an open, positive mindset, and everything kind of went fine. If you just do the quitting approach, really not that bad. To be honest, I kind of want to put it in chill tier, but it's a hallucinogen, so like, well, so is nitrous, but it's like it's similar thing. You stay positive, and it's like kind of fine. I don't know though. I mean, maybe because I did see this one thing where like whenever I kind of went off into my own head, like a lot of the visuals are like feel very internal and metaphorical almost. Like I saw like a Squidward head, but it was like kind of like a monument, and he had his like eyes were gouged out, and like blood was pouring from him. And I was kind of like, oh shit. But then as soon as I realized what I was looking at, it went away. Like as soon as I was conscious that I was looking at something, it went away, and that's how it was for all the other effects on it. Like I also felt my body like feeling like it was zooming across the universe. But it's like once I was like fully conscious of it, then it kind of went away. So it's like nothing was really like outwardly scary about it. You can choose to freak out from that, I guess. You can choose to be like, oh fuck, what's happening? But like it's not that bad. Unlike smoking it, and you know I'll smoke it at some point. All right, I'll get there. But I'd probably try DMT first, honestly, before I smoke this, because I've heard like probably one of the worst drug experiences you can have if it goes bad. Yeah, people say like time loses all meaning and like just stuck in a terror trip forever, and that sounds horrible. So probably not gonna do that soon, but I probably will do that at some point. But yeah, for now, just with the quitting, even when I did 5 grams or 10 grams, it's really not that bad. It wasn't that scary at all. Okay, hot take. Just from statistics alone, the amount of times I've gotten scared off of caffeine, I think it's B tier. Cause okay, hear me out. Not that. If I take like 200 milligrams of caffeine, like a caffeine pill, because I take caffeine pills like all the time. If I take 200 milligrams of caffeine and like either like early in the morning or if I'm just like sitting at home, not really like moving around much, then it kind of sends me straight into a panic attack. Less so panic attack, more so just like anxiety attack. It can go into a panic attack just because, you know, you're physically shaking and like your heart's racing and they're like, what the fuck's going on? Sometimes I don't even fucking connect the dots. I'll just be like, why am I freaking out? I have no idea why I'm freaking out. And then later I'll be like, oh yeah, it's the caffeine I took. That makes sense. But yeah, and that's a pretty common symptom for it too. So, and like the only silver lining is that like, you know, it helps you feel more awake, more productive. But sometimes it makes you feel too awake, if that makes sense. Maybe this is just me, but I kind of feel like if I just like kind of like taking a backseat, just like perceptually, then like I feel like I'm on top of things, if that makes sense. So I'll kind of feel like that if I'm like not super awake, a little dissociated, a little sedated or whatever. But if I take too much caffeine, it kind of flips that in reverse. I feel like I'm so hyper aware that like I'm not on top of things, and I just don't like the state I'm in pretty much. And then I don't know if that makes any sense, but like okay, for like another drug, let's say like a sedative or maybe just being like tired, I feel like I'm in like the passenger seat, the back seat, whatever, and just taking a back seat perceptually. But then with caffeine, I'm in the driver's seat. Like I have a responsibility to not crash my car, run into any other cars. Like I'm in the moment. I gotta lock in, and if I don't lock in, shit starts getting scary. But it doesn't matter. I'm still on the road. I gotta get to my destination. If that makes sense. Okay, anyway, yeah, caffeine, yeah, generally makes me anxious, and being anxious and scared, kind of the same thing. Yeah, I'd say B tier for sure. And then we got Kratom. Kratom, actually, for some reason, I actually get more scared off of Kratom than Percocet, and I think I figured out why. I'll notice if I ever get like really anxious or scared, I kind of feel it in my stomach, like just like a really bad gut feeling, pretty much, and so Kratom kind of gives me a gut feeling regardless of how I take it or how I'm feeling beforehand. Full stomach is the same thing. Light stomach, same thing. So because of that, I'd say it's just above opioids, but it's kind of the same thing in terms of like the actual effects, how my stomach feels aside. Just feeling like kind of numb, feeling like a little dissociated. And also, you're taking a lot of pills, and taking a lot of pills kind of gives me flashbacks to Benadryl. Or at least if you're taking the capsules, which is what I take. I don't want to take the sludge powdered drink thing. Yeah, but with opioids, you're not really like taking that many. And if you do take a lot, the pills are tiny, so for the most part. So it's like, I don't know, this feels like cleaner almost. So that's like reassuring. But with Kratom, it's also reassuring knowing that you're not gonna die because it has like a ceiling effect. But yeah, the stomach feeling, I don't know, that kind of makes me scared sometimes when I take it. Not any more than Klonopin, I don't think. Just because Kratom doesn't really last that long. So anyways, next deliriant. So we got Doxylamine. This may seem wild, but even though Doxylamine is a deliriant, So it's supposed to be a hallucinogen. I didn't actually get really any hallucinations from it. I only took a delirium dose of it once. I took 400 milligrams, which is more than enough to cause hallucinations. But it really didn't. It put me in the same state of Benadryl where it's like my mouth is dry, my body feels like it weighs a shit ton, and I feel kind of delirious, and I just don't feel right. I just don't feel good. However, there was no hallucinations. There was nothing to be like, oh, well, at least that's cool. That there's a spinning head over there. Look at that. There was none of that. I tried both like having the lights dimmed, having the lights bright, having the lights dark for extended periods of time, and nothing really. It kind of just sent me into a state where I was just like shaking and just felt really scared for like no reason. Kind of just put me in a panic attack basically, and I just had to like just write it out. I kind of heard voices. I did hear kind of like auditory hallucinations, but like it was like just voices, and also I did hear like flashing sounds. I can't even mimic it, but like I don't know, the sound of a flash, not like a camera flash, but like it's kind of like a laser sound effect, but also kind of like a flash. I don't know. I was hearing something like kind of like that, and that was disorienting. And then I heard the voices, but there was nothing to go along with it. It was just that, and it was just terrifying. And I just wanted it to end, so I just had to sit there for a few hours until it went away, and then it was just pretty much god awful. So technically, there's less going on than Benadryl. So Benadryl should be higher, but the shit that goes on with Benadryl is kind of interesting. Doxylamine, there was no it wasn't interesting at all. It just sucked. It really sucked for a few hours, and then that was it. Never felt interested in doing it ever again. So maybe I'll try it again, but like I don't know. I'm kind of done with deliriums in general. Maybe I'll try Datura at some point just because it's fucking crazy. I kind of feel like I have to, but yeah, Doxylamine, yeah, because there's no silver lining. I don't know. Oh, and also, by the way, I think I'll put Abilify behind. There's no God. If I say silver lining one more fucking time, there's no upside to Abilify. There's a slight upside. It's Benadryl, I guess, just because it's kind of neat. But yeah, no upsides to Doxylamine. And then we have antidepressants, last one. So this is just anything like mostly just SSRIs, because like there's some antidepressants that get like that are kind of whack, like what's one, like Doxylamine, I think might be like a antidepressant that's like really weird. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, I don't know. But yeah, like the tricyclics and some other ones have like weird side effects, but this is mostly referring to like the standard ones like SSRIs. So Prozac, Zoloft, Lexapro, Celexa, Paxil, Wellbutrin. I know that's not an SSRI, but I tried it. It feels pretty much the same. So yeah, it isn't really scary. I will say I don't like the way it changes my perception of reality. It is one of those things where if you choose to feel bad about it, then you can. However, if you don't choose to feel bad about the way your perception is changing, then you won't. But I don't like it when drugs affect my perception in a way that I don't like, especially when they're not even meant to. Like okay, I guess antidepressants are technically supposed to like shift your perspective away from being depressed, but like I don't know, they give me like depersonalization, and I just don't feel like myself on them. Some people report the opposite. Some people are like, oh, I finally feel like myself again after taking them. But not me. I don't know. I guess I'll go in chill tier, but it is kind of like, just as not as short as like Nitrous or Nicotine. And some of y'all were complaining that I put antidepressants on the last one. But I think they're a notable mention. I don't know. I went through a good bit of like psychiatric medication, so I like to put it on here along with the other recreational stuff. But yeah, I think that's it. A lot of C tier, but yeah, I think everything makes sense, I'd say. Yeah, I think that's a tier list. So yeah, on trauma tier we got weed and shrooms, and again, mostly only did carts. And then A tier we got doxylamine, diphenhydramine, Benadryl, whatever, Abilify. And then in B tier we have Klonopin, Kratom, opioids, caffeine. And then C tier we got DXM, alcohol, Phenibut, Mirtazapine, Seroquel, road trip gummies, and Salvia. Quitting. Not smoking. And then chill tier, these are pretty much always chill. It's antidepressants, most of them, nitrous, and nicotine. So yeah, there it is. Hope y'all enjoyed the ranking. As always, let me know if you disagree with anything below. But I don't even have to say that because you guys sure will. Yeah, I got a lot of feedback on my last one. I know I said that at the beginning, but like, God, 180k views is just fucking wild to me. I did not expect that at all. So it was kind of overwhelming too, honestly, because that video was like 3 months ago. I was like, You'd think that a video gets an unexpected amount of views, that would like motivate you to make more videos, and it kind of did temporarily. But the more it went up, the more I was just like, holy shit. And then I felt more of a responsibility towards uploading, which kind of like deterred me away from it. Not only in like I felt like I had to upload to like capitalize on the opportunity, but also that that like whatever I put out was going to be viewed by a lot of people, so I had to like be careful. Because you look at a lot of my other videos, I kind of just post whatever the fuck, and I'm gonna keep it that way. But now I feel like there's like there's like actual consequences now. And also, I don't know what the fuck YouTube is gonna do about like me making drug videos, because I know a lot of channels like that get banned and whatnot, even if they do a disclaimer and everything. So I don't know, but I'm gonna try and keep it real. Not like censor myself or anything. Just kind of make whatever I want to make like this. And I'm not gonna do like a shit ton of tier lists. I don't want to like milk it to death. But if I come up with like a random idea, or like in the future whenever I get more drugs under my belt, I can like redo these, then we'll do a tier list. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Appreciate the support as always. Appreciate the criticism, any kind of feedback, honestly. So yeah, hope y'all liked the video. Thanks for the love on the last one, and that's about it. Peace out. Stay genuine. Alright guys, y'all asked for it, and we're back with another tier list video. That sounds super scripted, and I'm gonna kill myself.